Today's cardinal lesson, we're talking about the Medicare tax. And you say, Medicare tax? I didn't know there was a tax on Medicare. Well, it's not really called a tax, but you're going to learn something today, is that IRMAA is the acronym, and that stands for Income Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. Sounds like a tax to me. And, you know, it affects people that have had a high income before they retired, and it really affects you over the long term if you have a very high income. And, you know, some people are going to say, well, it's kind of hard to feel sorry for these people, and it's not about feeling sorry for them. What it amounts to is it's much easier to deal with something you're prepared for than it is to just find out about this in the second or third month that you're on Medicare Part B for the first time. And unfortunately, that's when most people find out about it. I can't tell you how many clients that we run into or that become clients of ours, they're going to learn about it when we tell them about it. But we just find people coming in and they knew nothing about this, and then they don't even know where to go look for the information. So what I'm going to share with you today is what it is and why it's important. Now, only 7% of the Medicare beneficiaries actually pay this tax. So that means that 93% of the people on Medicare don't have to worry about this. But that number's a little fuzzy in the sense that there's some people paying this tax in the middle of the beginning of their retirement years for a year or two or three, just by how it's calculated. So let's get into it. Is what they're going to use Medicare is, and the government is that Medicare is going to go in through the computer, go to your tax return at the IRS, and they're going to see where your modified adjusted gross income is. And they can get that right out of your tax return. And for people that are turning 65 right now in 2021, we have a lot of people turning 65 in September this year that are talking to us right now. And what they're really coming to us first is for Medicare supplement insurance, or they're possibly going to get a Medicare Advantage. And we're always talking to them is, what has your income been? What it's going to be in retirement? And many times we're helping them with that. But we're going to want to find out whether they're going to, if they're single, if they've had an income of greater than $88,000 a year, then they're going to need to concern themselves with this. If they're married filing jointly, the number is double that, is $176,000 a year as a threshold. So that's going to rule out a lot of people, and that may have some of you saying bye-bye to the camera, but not so quick. Because if that's your income in retirement, and that's not really manageable, or your income somewhere down here or here, and that's kind of what it is, well, congratulations to you. You got a big income, and you're going to pay a little more for Medicare, and I guess it's not that big of a deal. But this catches so many people by surprise, I want you to be ready for it. So those people that are turning 65 this year in 2021, and they're going on Medicare September, they're going to get a letter in October. And if they were assuming perhaps that they were going to pay like everyone else does, $148.50 a month for Medicare. But if they're a single person and say on their 2019 tax return, so that's 2 years ago, and they had $120,000 a year, they're going to pay $297 a month for just the Part B of Medicare, and they're going to pay an additional $31.80 on top of their planned premium for their Part D. So that's a surtax or a Medicare tax where you're just paying extra because you have a high income in retirement. But you know, the sad part about that is they weren't retired in 2019. That was their income at when they were working full time and their full income. Now that they're retired, a lot of people, when they get retired and they're done, that's when they sign up for Medicare Part B. That's when they find out about this, and their income is smaller. That's why they're in seeing us, because we're doing income planning. We're figuring out withdrawals from IRAs and pension plans and Social Security and timing of that, and trying to work out a workable income for the rest of their life. And then all of a sudden this comes around, and it just stings them. This angers some people, especially when it comes out of nowhere. So you know, you say if there's nothing you can do about it, well, why are we spending so much time on it? Well, there actually are some things you can do about it, because if you're just going on Medicare Part B, many times you're just retiring. And retirement, or your spouse's retirement, is a reason for an appeal. So if I just have a client right now we're doing this with, and those numbers and the ages and the months they're turning 65, and these people are way down here, well, actually way down here from her income. She's like 67 and just now retiring, 68. He's like almost 70. He's been retired since 62, but they've been on her group insurance. Now they're getting on Medicare, and her income has been very high. And they've saved, they got retirement savings, but their income is going to go way down because they don't need what she used to make to live on. Their Social Security checks are pretty substantial. And so this number is manageable going forward. But if we're using a 2-year-old tax return, so we just file an appeal. And in the appeal, we just mark the box, yes, retired. And then the second thing is, this is our estimated monthly income for this year. Please use my 2021 estimate for this appeal instead of going back and using the 2 years ago tax return. And we've been pretty successful in getting those approved for people. There's all kinds of situations that lead up to it. Now, I'm not suggesting filing an appeal if you're really going to make just as much or more in retirement. If you already, I mean, you know, the death of a spouse is the same kind of a thing. That's a reason for an appeal, or a divorce, or just something where the measure 2 years ago is not an accurate measure of what's going on now. And the IRS doesn't use a current tax return because you don't have it. You haven't filed it yet. So they're going to go backwards. And if we get the appeal done, we can get some relief for a couple of years on this. Next point with this is a planning point, is had you known, if you're somebody who's 63 or 62 or 60, and then you can take a look at this, my sense is this isn't going away. It's going to get more penal, if anything. They're making people who can afford to pay for their own Medicare is essentially what it is. Even though you paid the taxes all that time, if you make a lot of money in retirement, or what they define as a lot of money, you're going to pay a lot for your Medicare. And so how do well-to-do people earn a lot of money in retirement? Well, they do it first from their Social Security, and that's not a lot of money to them, but it's significant money for living expenses. And then they're going to make withdrawals from their 401k plans, IRAs, taxable accounts. And that's what drives this number up. People that are making a lot of money off their investments fill out a big tax return and pay a lot of taxes. And so, and that number drives this. And we really don't, this is like the tail wagging the dog. If you get all fired up about this, and some people do, and then they come to us, they want to make this go away. And it's not that important that, you know, if you're into these higher income amounts, this is not enough of a reason to make you start doing some things that may be penal in some other areas. But I'm going to tell you, an overall solution to this is to have money in a Roth IRA. So if you're, like I said, if you're 62, 61, 60, 64, the year before Medicare, we may want to think about a Roth IRA conversion. And then you're going to have another pot of money that's tax-free to make withdrawals for your income over your lifetime. And then you're going to have a lower number, whichever category you're in. That's going to help you not only with IRMAA and the Medicare tax, but it's also going to help you with the taxes on the Social Security. So we like to construct income in such a way that people are only pulling out of their retirement accounts the amount of money they have to, combined with their Social Security. So we've got a low number to turn into the IRS every year. And then they may be pulling income from other sources, properly structured, so they have the income and the money to spend. They're just not having a very high tax return. I'm Hans Scheil, and I thank you for listening.